What's the story, Morning Glory? What's the word, Hummingbird? Thank you so much for clicking on my channel and for joining me for this review of a brand new show that premiered last Wednesday night on Lifetime right after Married at First Sight, called Prison Bride. So this is season 1, episode 1, and I guess this is Lifetime's version of Love After Lockup, but maybe not so rough around the edges. I don't know. So I watched it and it's okay. It's only episode 1, so I really don't know what they're going to be bringing overall, but so far it was okay. Now, the difference between Prison Brides and Love After Lockup is that all of the inmates so far have been men in America who are incarcerated, and the women are living abroad. They're living in Europe. And through whatever pen pal website or however way they met, they started communicating with these prisoners. And now I think the women are going to be moving to America to start these new lives with their prison husbands, boyfriends, whatever, upon their release. So let's get into it. So season 1, episode 1 of Prison Brides, a strange situation. Let's get started with Aaron, 33, from Australia, and Michael, 43, from Ohio. Their status right now is currently that they're dating. Aaron is a hairstylist in Australia. Michael is serving 8.5 years for robbery, burglary, and receiving stolen property. Aaron says that this is the most serious relationship that she's had. She plans to move to the U.S. She was born in America, actually. She was born in New York, and so that's why her Australian accent isn't that thick. And there's a scene where she's talking with her mom, and her mom sounds completely American. I think what happened was her mother, I don't know if it was with Aaron's father or with her stepfather, I'm not really sure, but when Aaron was really young, about 1 year old, I think, the mother and her husband, who I don't know if that's Aaron's father or not, moved to Australia. She followed this man, this Australian man, I guess, I have no idea. She followed this man to Australia. Aaron's mom did. So she grew up in Australia, but her Australian accent is, barely detectable. So Aaron and Michael have met in person before. She has traveled to America before to visit him while he was incarcerated. And when we meet Aaron, I think she is in the process of actually moving to America. So before she leaves Australia, she meets up with her friend Becky. Her friend Becky is a little bit nervous for Aaron because Aaron is like walking away from her entire life in Australia to start a new life in America with her prison bae, Michael. So her friend is a little bit wary of that, but when someone has made up their mind to do something, you just have to support them. So we find out that Michael before was incarcerated. So this is not his first stint in prison. He had been in prison before. He was given a 15-year sentence. I think he was released early. I don't think he did the full 15 years. I'm not really sure. And then once he was released, he committed another crime and he got re-incarcerated again. So Aaron's friend Becky is very worried that once he's released again, that he might reoffend and go back to prison. But, Aaron is going to keep the faith that, this time her man is going to do right. So at the end of their evening together, the friend gives Aaron a present, and she makes Aaron swear and promise that she's not going to open up this gift until she is physically with Michael, because Michael is about to be released. So Aaron is like, very intrigued, like, I wonder what it could be, but she keeps the promise to not open it until she's physically with Michael. Now, what the gift is Becky and Michael have been communicating behind Aaron's back, and Michael has picked out an engagement ring. And so Becky went and purchased the ring, I'm assuming with Michael's money, purchased the ring, and this is the ring that Michael is going to propose to Aaron with once he is released from prison. So the next time that we see Aaron, she's on her way to America. Michael is supposed to be released in about 3 days. And by the way, we also find out that Aaron is a mother. She has a child, and she's going to be leaving her child behind in Australia with the child's father while she starts this new life in America. And she's implying that at some point, once she gets really settled, she is going to bring her child to America. So after she arrives in the United States, she gets into her hotel and she gets a call from Michael, and Michael tells her that there's been some type of snafu with his paperwork, and so he's not going to be released at the time that he thought he was going to be released. He's still going to be released on the same day, but it's going to be later on that day. Oh no, I'm sorry. That's not it. I'm sorry. So when she arrives in her hotel, Michael calls her and tells her that he's going to have to go to a halfway house. That's what he tells her. He has to go to a halfway house upon his release. Now this puts a damper in Erin's plans because her intention was to get her man from prison and take him home to whatever their new home is going to be. And instead of that, she's going to have to drop him off at the halfway house. So he's going to have to, finish off some of his time at the halfway house. So she's really upset about this, but what can you do? So she's on her way to go pick up Michael from prison because it's the day of his release now. And on the way to the prison, this is when he calls her and tells her that there's been some type of issue with this paperwork and he won't be released at the time that he thought he was going to be released. It's going to be later on in the day. So Erin tries to let him know that, hey, it doesn't matter how long I have to wait for you outside those prison gates. I'll wait for you all day and all night if I have to. So as she's trying to tell him this, he cuts her off because I guess he's really frustrated about the delay in his release. And he's like, I just want to get off the phone. Like he's just trying to hurry her off the phone because he's upset. And so she's like, wait a minute, hold on, let me get my sentence out. And she tries to tell him that it doesn't matter if there's a delay. I'm okay with that. I'll wait for you until whenever you come out. But he was so frustrated that he was cutting her off, didn't want to listen, didn't want to talk to her anymore on the phone. And that was like my first little tiny red flag about Michael. Like, I'm beginning to wonder if this man might have a temper problem. But we'll see how that goes. So that's Erin and Michael. I don't have any thoughts and opinions right now, other than why in the world would anybody want to put, completely leave their child behind, their family, everything they've ever known, leave it all behind to start life with someone that they've seen maybe once or twice in real life. And, on top of that, he's an inmate. And on top of that, he's an inmate who had, reoffended and was reincarcerated. So I would be worried that this might be his pattern, but Erin has a lot of faith in this man. So we'll see how that goes. Moving on to our second couple, Emma and Curtis. Emma is 32 years old. She's from London. She's a post lady, which I'm assuming is like, a male lady or a male woman or a male person, whatever you want to call it. And Curtis is 33 years old. He lives in Michigan and he is serving 7 years for carjacking and possession of a firearm. Their status is engaged. So they were already, I guess he's already proposed and she's already accepted and they are engaged. They've known each other for about 2.5 years. Now, Emma tells us that before she met Curtis, she was in a very abusive relationship. And after she left that relationship and she started going out, or she started talking to or communicating with Curtis, she said that she felt like she got her power back as an abused woman. That, whenever she, like the relationship with Curtis, it was like on her terms. She would talk to him when she felt like talking to him. Whatever happened between them, it was completely on her terms. And because in her previous relationship where she was abused, I guess she felt like she had no power, no control. And I'm just thinking to myself, yeah, Emma, you feel like you got your power back when you were dating this inmate because he's in prison. He's behind bars. He can't do much of anything. So everything is on your terms, right? Anyways, so they're planning to get married while Curtis is still incarcerated because this is how they want to apply for the spousal visa once he's released. So I guess they want to hurry up and get married while he's still in prison so that as soon as he's released from prison, they can just start the paperwork and the documentation for the spousal visa for her to come to America instead of, having to get married and then applying for it. I don't understand what the rush is because, you can just go to the courthouse and just do it over there. At least it wouldn't be in prison and then start the paperwork at that time. But I don't know. I don't know how much time he has left. So maybe that's got a lot to do with it. Maybe I don't know. I really don't know what's going on because it wasn't really clear on the show, like if he was about to be released or if she has to wait a little bit longer for his release. Either way, she's going to get married in prison. So there's a scene where she meets up with her parents. Her parents, of course, are not that very enthusiastic about her marrying a prisoner. But her parents, to me, seemed kind of like, this is their daughter. This is what she decided to do. So they're going to support her either way. Now, while they're talking about Curtis, they also are talking about the crime that he committed, the carjacking and possession of a firearm. So, as she's telling her parents about the crime that he committed, not necessarily telling him, but as they're talking about his crime, she really minimizes the severity of his crime. So she says he carjacked his cousin. It wasn't like he just, rolled up on a stranger and tried to steal their car. It was his cousin, and they're having some type of a dispute over the car. So I guess he decided to forcefully take the car from his cousin by using a gun and threatening. And I think he even shot his cousin. And so her mom was like, this is crazy. This guy had a gun. He shot somebody. And Emma tells her mom, "Oh, mom, everybody in America has a gun. What's the big deal? It's no big deal. Everybody in America has a gun." And, it was just his cousin. It's not like he was trying to carjack a stranger. So she tries to really minimize his crime. And I'm thinking, just because it was his cousin doesn't make it any better. In fact, it kind of makes it worse. Somebody who would be willing to shoot a family member over a material object like a car would shoot anybody over anything. So, she really tries to downplay it, and she's looking forward to leaving London to go start her new life in America with this guy, and that's all that we got out of Emma and Curtis. Aaron is okay. So then we're moving on to Ssea, who's 29 years old from Germany, and then Joseph, who's 30 years old from Michigan. Their status is dating. So Joseph is serving 11 years for armed robbery and assault. And I don't know exactly. I think Ssea is a midwife. They met through some prison pen pal website. Ssea didn't think that she could ever fall in love with someone that she had never seen, but here we are. And Joseph tells us that his friends, when they saw a picture of Ssea, his prison friends, I guess, they all were like, "No, this is a catfish. There's no way that somebody that pretty would be interested in, anybody as ugly as you." So she plans to visit Joseph, not to move to America, but just to come to America to visit Joseph. So she claims that Joseph has never asked for money. So this is, kind of making her feel a little bit more secure that he's in this relationship for the right reasons, because he's never asked her for money. She's never given him money. Her mom tries to remind her that the crime that Joseph committed was pretty major because it involved a gun. And Ssea's mom says that normally Ssea is not very trusting of people. So the mom is very surprised that Ssea has put her whole heart into this guy and into this relationship, because she's usually not very trusting. But here she is trusting a convicted criminal. So the next time that we see Ssea, she has landed in Chicago. The first thing that she does is she goes to visit Joseph's grandmother. The grandmother was really happy to see her. Curtis was in fact raised by his grandmother. And from there, they go to the roller skating rink. And they're at this roller skating rink, and that's where Ssea meets Joseph's cousin, Kent. And this roller skating rink is like a very important place for Joseph because he spent a lot of time there, and he's like an avid skater. And so, roller skating is his passion. So the grandmother says that Ssea must be really serious about her grandson because she traveled all the way from Germany, to come and visit him in prison. But the grandmother says, "I really don't know what she sees in him." His own grandmother says that. It's like, "I really don't know what she sees in my grandson." So the next time that we see them, Ssea is at the prison. She goes in, she visits Joseph, but the cameras were not allowed. All we got to see were pictures. And she says that after seeing him in person, and I think this was the very first time that she met him in person. After the first time that she met him, she said that she feels even more reassured that this is the man that she is supposed to spend the rest of her life with. Now, I'm assuming that we're following these couples because these men are about to be released soon from prison. So then we get to see, how these relationships develop and how they fare once the men are released. So I'm really interested in seeing that. I hope that it's not as messy and dirty and gutter as Love After Lockup. I hope this is a little bit more elevated type of show about prison love. I don't know. But like I said, this is the very first episode for the very first season. So I don't have a lot of input to give. Of course, I see a sprinkling of red flags here and there, but we really don't know these people yet. We have to wait and find out how things are going to turn out. Other than that, thank you so much for joining me. I really do appreciate it. On your way out, please don't forget to rate the video if you like this content, subscribe to my channel, and I'll definitely talk to you later. Bye.